G'day folks, it's Rob here and welcome to our little backyard farm. In today's clip I'm going to be harvesting 3 ginger plants that we've had going in a small little root pouch garden for about 8 months now, a couple of weeks, under 8 months actually. They're just starting to die back a little bit because things are cooling down here in southeast Queensland, Australia, so I figure now's the perfect time to pull them out. Now the 3 pouches we've got here are 2 smaller ones. They're about 12 litres in size, or roughly 3 gallons in size, and the larger one is a 56-litre root pouch, which is 15 gallons in size. The smaller ones are actually leftovers from ginger bed I planted out elsewhere. I was just starting off some seed rhizome in these pouches. Didn't need these 2, so I thought I'd just let them grow to see how they'd turn out. So anyway, without further nattering on, we'll reposition the camera and I'll start unearthing this ginger. So this is the setup these gingers have been growing in. It's basically one of the old side walls to an IBC fish tank that I've turned into a bit of a tray. And as you can see, there's some water just sitting in the base there. That's just from the rain this week. And as these gingers aren't really growing much anymore, they're not using up a lot of that water. So I'm expecting the soil in these pouches to be rather moist, to say the least. So what we might do is we might come around here and we might harvest these 2 small pouches first, just see what's in there, and then we'll hook on into the big fella. Oh, just to let you know too, this little construction area down the back here is where the new chicken pen's going. It's just been a little bit too wet to work on it this week, so hopefully we'll hook into that this weekend if it's dry. So to begin with, we'll start off with this little pouch. The dead branches come off pretty easy. Now these guys here, they didn't have a very large rhizome planted out in them to begin with. They were all saved rhizome from our last year's harvest. Some would have come from the Aquaponics and some would have come from a wicking barrel we had set up. Oh, here we go. Well, it's definitely a decent sized chunk in here, that's for sure. So not too bad at all, really. So I'm just ripping off some of the roots from down the bottom there. I will clean these guys up at the end and I'll give you a bit of a closer look and just show you where the original pieces they grew from are situated. Just pop these guys over in a small bowl for now. And I'll grab the other one, which is going to be a little bit messier, I think. So this one here's still got a little bit of life to it, and a little bit of a growth down in there. I might just snip off these other ones to make it easy to pull out. I think he's going to be a little bit harder to unearth, definitely. I might have to tip some of the soil out, I think. So this piece of ginger's definitely distorted the pouch. You might be able to make out a little growth point down in there, maybe, and there's a growth point over here, so it's elongated the pouch quite a bit. So it's going to be a little bit interesting to get out. So what I might do is actually upend this in the tray and see if that'll help. Oh wow, it has done rather well. And there's still compost worms in there, so I'm pretty impressed with that. There's another one down in here. So obviously they like this soil blend. Geez, there's a number of worms that have fallen out of this now. There we go. So be able to unearth it out here on the tray. Wow, more compost worms. And they're looking pretty healthy too. So the soil blend I used for these pouches was 2/3 potting mix, a fairly decent quality one, and about 1/3 of our own compost. And I also added in a small handful of the organic chicken pellets that I like to use. Excuse me, Mr. Compost Worm. And also to some of the kelp meal as well. So that was pretty much all these pouches got, and they were also fed up through the season with some rob water, but not too much because I didn't want too much sodium in the soil blend. So that's about as good as a look as I can give you at the moment. I'm really impressed with how this one's done. I'll give it a blast with the hose and I'll show you it along with the others at the end. So just can't get over how healthy these compost worms look in here. Definitely looking like they've been thriving. Oh, I just broke a bit. Oops. So I'll pop these guys to one side and we'll start on the big fella. So time for this big pouch now. Just get rid of any of these stems just to make it a little bit easier. So I actually managed to keep some footage of this one going in. So I went in around about the 28th of October, I think, from memory. And what I might do is I might just pull this sugarcane mulch off and pop it to one side. There we go. So what I'm going to do is just remove as much of this soil from the top as I can, and then we'll tip the pouch on its side and see if I can pull the ginger out in one piece. I'm seeing compost worms in here as well. So I must be doing something right with the compost and soil blend, I think. So I think that's about all I can get out. So I might tip it on its side this way, I think. I just heard something crack. I don't think I'm going to get this out in one piece, folks, but I'll try my best. Well, the pouch is coming away, so I'll see if I can get under it here. Wow, these roots have certainly done well around the outside, that's for sure. So there we go, just watch out I'm not crushing my phone here. So there we go. There's my little clump of ginger. Oh wow. Oh, that's rather impressive, I think. Wow, that's a nice bit of ginger. I saw a compost worm wriggling down in there as well. Better pull him out. Don't want to blast him with the hose. That's awesome. Where did I break him off from? I can't quite see. But anyway, I'm going to get as much of this soil out, and then we'll take him up and hit him with the hose and give you a closer look, folks. So I've given all the ginger a bit of a blast with the hose. Top left hand side is the first pouch, and there's the second pouch, and down here we have the third pouch. I had 2 bits of ginger growing in there, and how I can tell is by the colour of this ginger. This ginger, when compared with the fresh ginger, definitely darker in colour. This would have been the mother rhizome that went in, and the same over here. This section here is still attached. This one fell apart while I was cleaning it, but this is definitely the mother rhizome for this patch, well, this little section here. So what I'm going to do now is just remove all these mothers from the sections, and also come along and take off any of these large root sections as well. I'm just going to snip them off, and I'll give it a bit of a weigh, and we'll get closer to a true value for this ginger weight wise. So I'll be back in a moment, folks. So now that's all done, I might just give these guys another little blast with the hose. We'll set up the camera and have a bit of a weigh-in. So here we go, folks. Here's a bit of a look at the first pouch. 198 grams, so you know, just under 200 grams. Not a massive harvest, but I'm not complaining. Still very edible ginger. Pouch number 2, we have these sections, and they're coming in at 460 grams. So that's about half what you could expect from a healthy plant. Just from memory, I think the average yield should be around about 800 grams. Plant number 3, I might just have to move these. We'll see if this will balance on there without touching the base. Yep, we're right there, 904 grams. So this one, yeah, roughly what you could expect from your average ginger grown in the backyard. The last one, might have to make some room for this one. We'll just see if we can balance it. There we go, we'll play the angles, hey? And the last bit, 1.27 kilos, so what's that, 1,270 grams. So definitely not going to knock that piece at all. That's a very healthy looking piece of ginger. So a couple of ideas on why these guys have done so well. Maybe the soil mix was a little bit more nutritious, or they had more soil mix available to them to give them nutrients. These 2 smaller ones just up the back here, maybe the deal with these guys here was, you know, maybe just not enough nutrients in the pouch. You saw how this one was pushed up against the sides. Maybe that had something to do with it. So it could also come down to just a bit of a dud bit of ginger going into the pouch. Not a bad little harvest at all, really. I'm definitely not going to complain about it. So we ended up with just over 2.8 kilograms or 6.1 pounds of fresh ginger to play with. I'm pretty happy with that, especially considering we're down to our last couple of bricks of frozen ginger puree in the freezer. So I'll be able to replenish the stocks with that. So the next ginger to be harvested here will be from the large root pouch garden in front of the aquaponics. This ginger's been in there probably the longest of all the ginger, but because of its position, it's getting a little bit more sun during the day, so it's hanging on longer. Maybe in a week or so's time I'll do a separate clip on harvesting those little babies out. I really do need to send out a huge thanks and shout out to a group of people. They're our wonderful patrons over on Patreon, especially the super patrons who have gone that little bit extra. I've actually got links to their businesses and their Facebook pages down in the description below. It'd be great if you could go check them out. And also to all our other wonderful patrons as well. I've added a list of them in this clip as well in the description. These guys are helping us out by chipping in $1 or $2 every month, just to help pay, you know, for bits and pieces like new camera gear as I break it, fish food, and just general little bits and pieces around the place. And it really does help out, seeing as I'm a stay-at-home dad. YouTube is pretty much all my business. I really do appreciate the support. If you're interested in knowing what we do over on Patreon, you can check it out in that little link up there. There'll also be a little card at the end with my grinning face giving you the thumbs up you can click on too. I do hope you're all well and happy and that your gardens are booming, and I'll catch you next clip. Cheers all, have a top one.